Our readings this morning, our songs, our meditation, our call to community, our lighting of the chalice, all of these help us see that our experiences and understandings of wilderness are quite varied. We have a lot of different ideas about wilderness. For some, wilderness is a place of life-threatening danger. For others, it's a place of trial and temptation. Some look at wilderness and see wasted land that needs to come under control, use, and ownership by human beings. Some see wilderness as a place of beauty, a place of great inspiration, and some see wilderness as having value for its own sake, inherent worth, a place of biodiversity and flourishing ecosystems. In this discourse this morning, we're going to explore some of the historical and contemporary visions of wilderness and pay special attention to the importance of preserving wilderness for the sake of all life on earth. As I speak this morning, I had to make sure that my phone is on airplane mode because I'm receiving a number of photos and even some videos from my older daughter, Ray. And I have to admit that I'm a bit envious of Ray this morning because at this very moment she is hiking in Big Bend National Park during her fall break. It's part of a class at Oklahoma City University where she's studying the ecosystems of the Big Bend National Park area. She's been there since Friday. And when she woke up yesterday morning, she texted us these words. And I just loved to see this text. The text was, "The stars last night were amazing." Amazing in all caps. It was really the first time that she had seen the stars in all of their grandeur. She'd seen stars a little bit better than we get in Oklahoma City at night on a few occasions, but nothing like what she saw on Friday night. The stars last night were amazing. Yesterday, she sent us dozens of photos. This morning, I've received 23 photos from her 2 days of hiking. Her descriptions and photos have definitely put Big Bend on the short list of places that I want to go in the near future. This is Ray's third intensive interaction with nature in the past 7 months. She's a biology major, a cell and molecular biology major, and a chemistry minor, but she's really taken to these field experiences, these trips onto various ecosystems. In Texas, she went to study the Gulf Coast ecology in March in South Texas, which included a significant amount of time birding. In June, she spent 10 days studying the ecology of southeastern Alaska near Juneau, logging over 60 miles of hiking. And now she is spending 4 days during fall break studying the ecology of Big Bend National Park, where just yesterday alone she hiked 10 miles. In these 3 experiences, Ray has seen dozens of different species of birds, come across all sorts of animals like deer, snakes, alligators, dolphins, sea turtles, brown bears. One was much too close for my liking, just 200 feet down the trail in Alaska, and even humpback whales. She was very sad, though, that she didn't see any orcas during her time in Alaska. She's hiked the sandy shores and wetlands of South Texas, the forests and glacier-covered mountains of southeast Alaska, and now the desert and mountains of Big Bend. And because these experiences are also classes, she has learned quite a bit about the flora and the fauna of each of these ecosystems, probably more than I will ever know. These 3 immersion experiences in wilderness have transformed and are continuing to transform her perspectives about the world in which she lives and about her place within this world house that we all share together. This inspirational impact, the inspirational impact that all of us, I hope, have experienced at some time of the awesome beauty of wilderness and the impact it has on our lives, is one of the many reasons why wilderness ought to be preserved, why the preservation of wilderness is so important. Being in wilderness can enliven the human spirit. It can nourish our souls, and it reminds us of our deep connection with the earth and our interdependence with all life. It's difficult for me to imagine how different I would be if I had not had many experiences in wilderness during my life. But it's important not to over-romanticize wilderness. Some of our readings this morning remind us of that. It is important to recognize that wilderness can be, well, wild. It can be a dangerous place. There's a reason why so many religious traditions have portrayed wilderness as a place of difficulty, danger, and even trials. And we can understand why people would not want to wander lost in the wilderness for any extended period of time. It only took me one experience of feeling lost in the wilderness of the Sawtooth Mountains of Idaho as a youth, hiking with my dad, to realize that I would never want to be lost out there again. But we cannot let our fear of the dangers of wilderness lead us to not see the immense value that wilderness has, both for the well-being of our human communities as well as the well-being of our ecological community, of which we are all a part. Nor should we allow a human-centered focus on economic gain to lead us simply to see wilderness as a storehouse of natural resources for human use and consumption. The value of wilderness is so much more than just a commodity to be bought and sold and be consumed. Nor should we adhere to the view of the 17th century English philosopher John Locke, who felt that wilderness had no inherent worth and was going to waste unless we as human beings infuse it with value by mixing our labor with it and thereby making it our property. Such a misguided view of wilderness, combined with Locke's deeply misguided and racist views of indigenous persons, led him to the erroneous and evil conclusion that European invaders were justified in taking the land which native peoples had inhabited for centuries, because in his Eurocentric and racist logic, indigenous persons were letting the land go to waste by not mixing enough of their labor with it to make it their property. These Lockean views of wilderness and private property have sadly been the normative guide for much of humanity as we have conquered and commodified wilderness over the past 3.5 centuries. Such a worldview is one of the reasons why there is very little true wilderness left in the world. It's also a key contributing factor to why there is less than half of the wildlife on Earth today than there was when I was born 56 years ago. It is why we are currently experiencing the 6th great extinction event in the history of our planet, and the only mass global extinction event caused by the activity of one species. There have been wise persons, though, who have recognized the moral and ecological bankruptcy of John Locke's views about the value of wilderness and our commodification and consumption of wilderness. The life and wisdom of indigenous persons and cultures provide humanity with a radically different vision of our relationship with our ecological communities and with radically different ways of being in relationship with nature and wilderness. Listening to and taking this wisdom to heart will be a key to correcting the way we relate with the earth. It's not an accident that indigenous persons are at the forefront of the environmental justice movement. It's not an accident that indigenous persons are at the forefront of the climate justice movement to preserve a livable climate for all life. Here in the United States, we've had some ecological visionaries like John Muir, the inspiration for our national park system, Aldo Leopold, author of the ecological classic, A Sand County Almanac, who put together what he calls a land ethic, where it's so important to preserve the integrity, the beauty of our ecosystems. And Rachel Carson, author of The Sea Around Us and Silent Spring, and so many, many other wise persons who have warned us about what is at stake for all of humanity and for all of life if we do not preserve wilderness. The biodiversity and ecological health of our planet are dependent on the preservation of large areas of wilderness. When we destroy wilderness, we interfere with the balance, stability, and integrity of ecosystems that have taken ages to develop. We disrupt the collaborative and mutually beneficial relationships among species that have evolved over great periods of time, but that are being wiped out in a blink of an eye in front of our very eyes. This is a significant loss. It's a significant loss to ecosystems and to both human and ecological flourishing. And in the end, it is also a devastating loss for the human spirit, as there are fewer and fewer opportunities to experience the great wonder, the great beauty of this awesome planet that is our only home. We all need to be connected to places where the wild things are. And our lives are enriched when we witness the grandeur of the forests, the mountains, the seas, and the deserts. We all need to see that other animals and all life on this planet are our kin, and to understand that our well-being is connected with the well-being of all life. We all need a place we can go when we can wake up in the morning and the first thought that comes to our mind is that the stars last night were amazing.